Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. Today's episode we are going to be diving into savings challenges, fun ways to building a habit to make you a savings machine. Whether you are on a really tight budget or you have some extra wiggle room within your budget, I have a savings challenge that is perfect for you. So let's crack on with the episode. Welcome to Project Richmon, where we embark on a journey to financial security with a sprinkle of fun and a whole lot of friendly advice. I'm your host Gemma, and together we're diving deep into the world of personal finance. Join me each week as we tackle budgeting, savings challenges, mindset and beliefs, and ways to supercharge your income. The goal? To empower women on their quest for financial independence. Because here's the secret: building wealth isn't boring or daunting. It's an enjoyable, rewarding adventure. Get ready for an episode filled with simple, easy to understand tips and tricks as we make the complex world of finance your new best friend. It's time to rewrite your financial story one episode at a time. Anyone who knows me will know that I love a savings challenge, and when I started out on my journey to really taking control of my financial situation, it was these small challenges that really did a lot of the legwork. If you listen to the last episode, you'll already know that I was never very good at saving big amounts of money purely because I didn't believe that I had that amount of flexibility within my budget. And so as a result, I didn't save anything, which was not the smartest which was not the smartest move on my part, but that's what I did. And it was these savings challenges that we're going to be talking about that really made a difference to me. And I know that it's very easy for people to say, well, when you get paid, just put a certain amount straight into a savings account, like simple, right? But actually, for a lot of people, that just isn't going to develop that habit. Lots of people will put money into a savings account when they get paid, and then right before payday, they are taking that same money back out again because they've either overstretched themselves or they just haven't budgeted very well throughout the rest of the month. It's also pretty boring, let's face it, and there's no harm in putting a little bit of fun into your life. So I find that savings challenges actually, they just make the whole process a lot more fun. It can take away that boring element of it, and they are ideal if you are really not in a habit of saving. So I have 5 challenges for you today. I've chosen these 5 to span the spectrum of financial situations because I know that some of you listening will be on a lower income and you will be looking for smaller ways to be able to incorporate these challenges into your life. And then there will be those of you who are listening who have a higher income who are looking to make bigger savings. So we're going to start on the lower end, and then we will work our way up. Remember that all of these you can amend to your individual budget. So if I say a set amount, you can absolutely change that so it fits in with your circumstances. So let's get started then. Savings challenge number 1 is called the spare change or the round up challenge. And this is perfect if you are on a tight budget. Now, the idea of this is that every purchase that you make, whether that's on your card or in cash, you are going to round up the total amount that you spend and put that rounded up amount into a savings jar. Now, sometimes they will be tiny amounts. If you go to the shop and you buy something for £1.90, for example, you're going to round that up to £2 and put that 10 pence difference into a pot. A lot of banks actually nowadays offer this for free. I know that I have an account with NatWest and they definitely do offer this. So make sure you check with your provider to see whether they offer this. And if I spend on my card, they automatically round up those payments and put them straight into a savings account. Now, this is a really easy way to start building up a little nest egg because you don't really notice it because it's very small amounts at a time. Make sure that you are not dismissing these small challenges because when we're talking about pennies, there is a good chance that your brain will switch off and say from the start, there's no point in doing this. These are tiny amounts. These aren't going to equate to very much at all. But actually, These are super important in, like we spoke about earlier, building that habit of saving. And also, I think you'll be surprised if you just keep letting them build up slowly in the background, how much you'll have in a year's time. So the round up spare change challenge is super easy because you don't need to keep track of anything other than taking your change and either putting it, if it's cash, into a pot, if it's your card, either moving it over manually or allowing your bank to do that. That's it. That's all you need to do for that. There's no tracking of anything, and you can just sit and watch that little pot of money build up. Now moving on to the second challenge, and this is the penny challenge. Now the penny challenge is super simple. For the next 365 days, you are going to put away 1 penny for every day. So on day 1, you put 1 penny into a savings account. On day 2, you put 2 pence into a savings account. Day 3, 3 pence, and you continue doing that until you get up to day 365, where you will be putting £3.65 or $3.65, whatever currency you're working with. If you continue to do this every day, in 12 months' time, you will have a total of £667.95. There are a lot of free sheets that you can download online that you can print off to help you to keep track of what day you're on, because there'll be nothing worse than if you're doing it with cash, in having a pot full of 2s and 1s and 5s and then forgetting what day you're on, and you're going to have to go through and count everything. So there are a lot of free sheets online. Just do a Google search for the penny challenge sheet and you'll be able to find them. You can find some on Etsy that you can pay for, and they will be super aesthetic and super pretty, but honestly, if you just want a basic one, you will find them for free. In fact, all of the challenges that I'm going to talk about, you will be able to find a free downloadable version if you just Google it. So if you don't need to spend that money and you're not too fussed about it being all pretty and aesthetic, then just go for the free version. So we've spoken about then the roundup challenge and the penny challenge. Those are both great if you are on a lower income. Also with the penny challenge, I know when I've spoken about this before on my YouTube channel that I've had people saying, I think I can do this when it's a lower amount, but then when it comes to, day 250 and I'm having to spend £2.50 a day, then progressing into £3, I just don't think that I'm going to be able to find that within my budget. And that's a fair point. And if you're thinking that may be something that you might struggle with, what we don't want is for you to give up at that point, because you will have come so far. So looking for ways that you can increase your income slightly is going to really help there. Now, one of the things that I've recommended to people in the past are the survey apps. And I know that some people are not comfortable with those. And if that's you, then that's fine. Just don't use them. But if you're thinking, actually, I could do with a way of making a little bit of extra when it comes to these challenges, so I'm not having to really struggle to find it from within my existing budget. There is an app that I have made a video on YouTube that is called Atapol. And I will leave a link to that in the description box so you can go and find it. App on your phone that you download. They have surveys that you can fill out and they're going to pay you. I think the most I got paid for one was about £2.50, but generally they're anywhere between 10 pence and £1. I set myself a challenge before I made a video about it on YouTube, and I think I made the video about 12 months ago actually. And I made myself, set myself a challenge to see whether I could make £3 a day, because £3 is the amount that you need to make within the app in order to be able to pay out into PayPal. And I was able to achieve that, and it was pretty simple for me to be able to do. Occasionally I would get some surveys where you'd answer a few questions and then they would disqualify you, which was quite frustrating when you got a couple in a row. But it was definitely doable just to make a couple of extra pounds a day, just in the evenings when the kids had gone to bed. I would just get my phone out and go through and do that. So if you are worried about doing the penny challenge, then that might be something that you might consider. So let's move on to a slightly higher challenge now. This is the 52-week challenge, and the idea with this one is that for every week, as opposed to every day, you are going to put in a £1 amount that correlates to that week. So week 1 is £1, week 2 is £2, week 3, £3, all the way up to week 52, if I can remember my weeks, and that will be £52. Now, obviously, this means that by the end of this challenge, you are going to be putting in £40-50 a week into a savings pot. But when you complete this challenge, you will have a total saved of 1,378. And I always think that these kind of challenges are really great to start like now. So I'm recording this in the beginning of November, so that you have a nice pot of money for next year for Christmas. Over the next couple of weeks and months, there are a lot of holidays coming up, and I know we're all probably focusing on paying for those. And the idea of thinking about this time next year may seem slightly stressful, but starting this sort of challenge now is going to mean that at this time next year, if you need to, you will be super prepared and you'll have a lovely pot of money. And who doesn't love that, right? So the next challenge that we have is the £5 challenge. And here we are moving up again, £5, $5, again, whatever currency you are working with. This one is particularly good if you are a cash spender. Anytime a £5 note or $5 comes into your possession, you have to save that. You're not allowed to spend it. There are no exceptions. Every time you touch one of those fives, that has to go into a savings account. And honestly, if you regularly spend cash, I think you'll be shocked at how quickly this one can build up. So just make sure that you are super disciplined with yourself and that you are committed to putting away every £5, which can be quite annoying if somebody gives you £5 for your birthday and it's like, and you're not allowed to spend it. You just have to hope that somebody doesn't give you like £100 in £5 notes, because you have to save it. That's the rules. Now, the fifth and final challenge that I want to talk about today is the biggest challenge that we have, and this is the cash envelope savings challenge. So you have 100 envelopes, and on the front of each envelope is written a number from 1 to 100. Whatever number is written on the outside of the envelope is how much money you need to put inside. Now, once every single one of these envelopes is filled, you will have a total of £5,050. So you can either choose to get 100 physical envelopes, write a number on the front, and do this challenge in cash. If you are more of a card spender, or you just don't really feel comfortable having that amount of cash in your house and you want to do this with a savings account online, you can simply get a sheet of paper, write down the numbers 1 to 100, and then cut out each number into a little square. And I'm going to explain why you cut them out. So some people like to go through the cash envelope system and they'll start at 1 and then they'll work their way up to 100. Whereas other people like to make it more of a game, which I think would be my preference. You mix up your envelopes or your little squares of paper, and then you randomly put your hand in like a tombola and you grab out a number, and whichever one you grab out, that is the amount that you have to save. Now, how often you do this is completely up to you. Now, my suggestion would be to stick to a regular time period when you are doing this. So whether you stick to when you get paid or you do it every Sunday, whatever works for you, but try and do it regularly so that we are building up that savings muscle. One of the things that I love about this challenge is that you can have fun with your kids. And I think it's super important that as a parent, we are teaching our kids how to budget and to save properly so that they don't have to go back, like I know a lot of us are doing, and like kind of relearn how to do all this stuff, and so that they can start their adult lives already knowing how important it is to save and to have money and just the options and the choices that they'll have by having savings behind them. And so you can really make this envelope system one for the family. You know, put your hand in, get the kids in, get them picking out the envelope, get them counting out, if you're doing cash, the amount that you're going to be putting in that envelope, get them to colour in the front of the envelope so that you know that that one is filled. Like, there's so much that you can do, no matter what age your kids are, to get them involved. And then, of course, the best bit comes at the end of that challenge, opening up those envelopes, counting out all of that cash, and just looking at how far you've come and how much you've been able to save. Now, there are so many other savings challenges that I could sit here and talk to you about, but then this episode would go on forever and ever. So I thought that these 5 were just good examples of savings challenges that can kind of go across the spectrum of wherever you're at with your financial journey, with your financial situation. And hopefully you will be able to incorporate one or more of these into your life. I don't think there'll be many people that can do all 5, although hats off to you if that is you and you are doing that. I hope that you have found some value in these savings challenges. That is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you next week for episode 3. Take care.